There we are. Look at my man.
How are you?
Very good, sir. Obviously, for many years, I've been a follower of yours, and you've been kind enough to read and endorse some of my books. And I was fortunate enough to be included in some of your work. And I'm a big fan of your work. You know, as a practicing yogi, I have three gurus. One, Satchidananda. Two, Sharon and David, who you know. I'm sure you knew Satchidananda. And also Paramahansa Yogananda. And with Yogananda, and I just saw his documentary, I kind of didn't see it the first time, Awake. So I'm watching Awake, and I see you in it. And he's one of the reasons that I started to create a curriculum for yoga and yogic science. And the thing is, many people view yoga as a science, and they understand it as a cause and effect regarding growth of the spirit toward a space of freedom. But no one is more, Yogananda, of the three gurus that I have, is the person who spoke a great deal about science. And then you are his natural incarnation. And today it is a fact that you are the one who has taught us of the connection between science and yoga. That the spiritual sciences are what we study to find these medical answers. And then we find out that the spirit does move as an exact science, and that we are all connected through your study in quantum physics. All of this stuff has inspired me. So when I spoke to you today and you said you would speak to me about our current condition, I was thrilled. Gary, we just finished working. I said, oh my God, we can talk to Deepak. Because you're a hero of mine. Have been.
He's an hero of all.
So you said something about the pandemic, because I was saying that I felt very worried that this future, so many people of color specifically, are not taking the vaccine, and this future, this post-pandemic lifestyle that I'm promoting, that you're hoping for, is threatened because of our previous experience with the government and our lack of faith in this vaccine. So I wanted to hear your take on it, and I wanted to share it with people.
Okay, so I'll give you my take on the vaccine, but then we should address the deeper issues regarding this pandemic and how it's connected to everything from eco-destruction to climate change to the way we treat animals to the way we produce food. There's a lot of factors that are responsible for the pandemic. But let me just share my view of the vaccine. And I'll share it because I'm biased, okay? And I'll tell you why I'm biased. I grew up in India. And when I was growing up, there were millions of people dying of polio, millions of people dying of tuberculosis, millions of people dying of smallpox and malaria, of course. And I saw people who were scarred for life with smallpox, or they died, some of my friends. Saw people who were paralyzed for life because of polio, or they died from that because of respiratory failure. And vaccines saved millions of people. So I am biased. I now know, for example, that certain vaccines may not be necessary, like measles, diphtheria, tetanus, depending on where you live. But if you're in impoverished conditions, then vaccines can be very helpful right now to both prevent the disease and actually mitigate the virulence of the virus. It'll mutate over a while. I personally have looked at all the data from everywhere, including the vaccines that are coming from Asia, the vaccines from Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and all the other outfits. And they're pretty good. I can tell you that they will definitely have an influence in mitigating and decreasing the incidence of death, morbidity, and mortality. Now, having said that, I recognize that people who are not affluent, people, actually you can look at disease right now, COVID, who's getting sick. and look at only one thing. Only one thing correlates, and that's the zip code. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or brown. It's the zip code that determines whether you're going to get highly likelihood of getting COVID and even dying from it, because zip code reflects other things: nutrition, junk food, unemployment, racism, bigotry, the way people are treated who are basically the what you might say, the victims of colonialism. We are all victims of colonialism. Mm-hmm. I am one, you are. And we've forgotten that history. The history of colonialism was a history of rape, of murder, of pillage, and of plunder, but came with army uniforms and medals, so they were honored by the king and the queen. And that's the romanticization of literally the worst behavior that humans are capable of. And we are paying the price of that. And now actually the colonialists are also paying the price for that, because you're seeing immigration in reverse. You're seeing in America right now, what is happening with this Biden administration? You're seeing white supremacists come out of the woodwork and show their bigotry and hatred and prejudice and their fear. With their fear that right this moment, it's the non-white supremacists who are going to take over the world. Look at what's happening in the world. So I totally understand what's happening, but I would say at this moment, it's safer to take a vaccine as we address the other issues. And the other issues are very important because, you can get a vaccine and probably mitigate the virulence of the virus and prevent many deaths. But in the deeper reality, these mutations that occur, they are because of a stressed genetic ecosystem, which is directly related to industrial food production. So right now, manufactured industrial food, which contains pesticides, organicides, inflammatory products, glyphosate, and many other things, hormones, antibiotics, genetically modified food, that is destroying the ecosystem, which is causing stress in the genetic information of our planet, which is called the genetic microbiome of our planet. So it's directly connected, pandemic to climate change, the way we treat animals, the way we eat our food, and the way we treat others as well. And all our racism, bigotry, climate change, mass migrations, violence, climate change refugees. This is all happening right before our eyes. See what happened in Texas, which is supposed to be a state that is immune from, these extreme changes. And now we are seeing millions of people in Texas being affected. And this is only the beginning of the problem. The pandemic, climate change, violence, racism, bigotry, hatred, the colonial past, all have to be addressed in a holistic manner. That's where holism comes in. Current science is based on what we call subject-object split. It's me and the rest of the world, me and nature, me and the universe. Yogic science doesn't believe in subject-object split. It's the true science. It's the true science is yogic science. If you understand yoga, 8 limbs of yoga, the rules of personal and social conduct, but then immediately after that, pranayama, asana, which are actually seats of awareness, and then going from there to something like dharana, focused awareness, dhyan, meditation, samadhi, transcendence. That is the key for our collective healing, nothing else. Current science is good for creating Zoom, this technology, but it has nothing to do with understanding life. So we need to revise science and resurrect the scientific endeavor. So it's a true science. True science is, what is reality? So if I ask somebody, what is this? They'd say it's an iPhone. If I ask somebody, what's this? It's a hand. What's this? It's a body. Not so. Yoga says this is the divine appearing as this, period. And I can show you how to get there. And when you get there, you'll be holy, you'll be healed. That's it.
Deepak, it is so such a pleasure and refreshing to have you. You know, every day I preach to students about the oneness and of the collective and how the sciences are proving more and more, you know, little things. You write a book on meditation and within weeks the Science Journal has information that you didn't have, right? You talk about modern health technology and within 2 years they've learned more about modern health and anti-aging than has ever been learned in the history of the world. Things are evolving very quickly. And the roadmap, as you have suggested, even when you spoke at my yoga school years ago and before that and for always, you spoke about the roadmap to the new science is the spiritual sciences, which were again proven and now have to be reaffirmed. So it is so important to hear the core addressed, because that's what you're addressing, the core of our problems. And for each individual, as we get to know the core, then we can come out of the suffering.
This is where science is going. Starting tomorrow, by the way, I don't know if you wear these devices like Fitbit, etc., but starting tomorrow, you'll be able to see the effects of meditation on your Fitbit in real time. I'm releasing real-time meditations. You will be able to see what happens to your heart rate variability, your blood pressure, your biological age, just through meditation and pranayama and yogasana.
This is so important.
What a breakthrough.
The breakthroughs are coming all the time, and I love that you are on the forefront of it, because you are not only are you a yogi, but Deepak, I don't know if you realize you're quite famous as a yogi, and your voice matters. I keep saying, I'm just speaking to Dr. Hildreth, who is this great doctor appointed by Biden, who's an African American, and I say there's a difference between important people and famous people, not to demean how people became important or famous, because their people have a gravitation to them for some magical reason. But important people are saying things that people need to hear. And when you can marry the two, when one person has the science, is a deep study on the things that matter, and then can express it, and it will travel and live a living example of that, that's what we need. And so I just wanted to hear what you said. You said something about you think that you see a decrease. And you were talking about the virus. I'd like to hear you're optimistic, because I think it's quite optimistic.
I'm going out on a limb and saying that by April you should see a decline in the pandemic. And then we have to address the big issues, not just the vaccines, but the big issues. And the big issues all can be solved through yoga. Really, Raj Yoga, the Royal Yoga, which you and I practice, the Yoga of Love, which is Bhakti Yoga, the Yoga of the Intellect, which is understanding deeper the science of yoga. And finally, Karma Yoga. We are Karma Yogis. We want to see a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. And we should all work together and even use technology to validate yogic science. And that's where we are today.
Well, I'm deeply appreciative. I know you didn't have much time. I wanted to hear from you because you are a leader and also a personal inspiration for me. You've made a big difference in my life. Reading your books, sharing your books to many people, and just being on the sideline, watching you affect the lives of so many has been a big inspiration for me, and I'm very happy to have a moment to speak to you.
And you've always, as a company, remember you made us all the staff read the 7 spiritual laws of success.
Brother Gary, who will be seen when we edit, is sitting here, and he wanted to make a point because he's worked for me for how long?
Well, 20-something or more years. But, it's so funny that I'm listening because Russell, at the time when we were the big company at Rush Communication, one of the things that he did, all staff, all 100 and something staff, had to read the 7 spiritual laws of success, or less they could not work with the company anymore. It was a mandate by him, and he gave us a short period of time, 1 week, to read that book. And then what he would do, he will walk around and then he will just quiz you to see whether or not you really read the book, and then to watch the way as a company we grow. So your influence has been something big on all of us, and we are indeed honored and grateful for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the enlightenment that you are. And we hope that you will continue
I
to
have
shine
to
that
ask
light.
him publicly because I want to make sure. You know, I'm a little worried because hundreds of people are working building my yoga hotel. And the yoga hotel will be, you know, yoga vegan Disneyland. Right? And I have all of these people lined up, but I want to make sure that you come and that
Do a retreat if you want. We'll do a week-long retreat.
I would love to have a retreat, to host a retreat with you, because as you know, I don't know when the last time you've been here, but this place is evolving, and this medicine city, I'm also building a modern technology resort, but this medicine city,
8 years ago, but I need to come again.
oh, it's changed quite a bit. I love you so much, brother, and thank you for taking the time to speak to me.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste. All love. Thank you.
Thank you.